Right, so just some basics today. We're not going for the advanced fishing today. That'll come up in future shows. But what we want to do is get the basics right. So we've got a spinning rod. I like to use 7-foot plus rods. 7'6" is my chosen rods that I like. Carbon rods, very, very good. You do not need $1,000 setup. You can get a good rod from most of our suppliers around in the stores. Carbon's the way you want to go. Some rods need a very firm backbone with a very firm head on the top. Others need to be a little bit more medium tapered. Others need to be soft, depending on what lure you want to do. As we go through the shows, obviously, we will learn different techniques that will help you. I'm going to be using spinning rods today. Easy to get started with. I do like open bait casters for a lot of my fishing, but for this application today, since we're doing some basics, I'm just going to use a nice, what we call a coffee grinder spinning reel. And I've changed the lineup. I'm using 8-pound on this particular one, and this is a 2000 reel, just because I like a slightly bigger reel when I use a crankbait. Now, crankbaiting is this over here. This is a nice chartreuse crankbait that I use in slightly dirtier water, and because of all the rain, we're going to have a go with this first, and I'll probably change it up a few times. I have hundreds and hundreds of lures, so but this is something that I want to give a go to. It's got a little rattle in it and so on. But you know, if you were to connect that directly to your main line, you're going to find quite a few problems. One, my main line is not invisible to the fish, so I need to make sure that I have a leader line which is quite easily accessible, available. I'm using this one today, which you can find in many stores. It's fluorocarbon, and fluorocarbon is a line that is completely invisible in water. What it is a bit more abrasive as well, so if the fish does take you and it rubs up against the rocks a little bit, you've got a better chance of getting it in than it just snapping. So I like to use 6-pound with a lot of my lures, 8-pound if I'm using something a little heavier like that. But you can start with 10-pound, 8-pound, and then work your way from there. Always take 2 meters off your previous fishing reel. You may have nicked it on a rock or something, and that will break when you get that one fish that you want, man. It's the best fish of your life, and it'll snap that line on that spot. Okay, so you take your 10-pound and your 8-pound. You put them across each other. Okay, use your thicker line first. Okay, we've got 1 loop just like that and hold, 2 loops just like that and hold. Take your spare extra piece of line, stick it through the 2 hoops and create a figure of 8 just like that. See, 8, which you pull, and don't pull it too tight yet because you don't want to tighten the knot. Then you go to your thinner line on the other side, you grab it to make a little loop, and you go 7 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You then go back through the loop in the middle, and that's good enough. You can pull that. Then wet it, pull it together tight so it slides together nicely, and then pull the extras just to tighten it. There's 1, there's 2. Now that's tight. Try and break it. If it doesn't break, it's good enough. Cut that off with a pair of wire cutters. I like to use a pair of scissors. You can use nail clippers and cut it as close as you can onto the main without nicking the line at all. Your line has to be in good shape, otherwise you're going to lose that fish of a lifetime, you know what I'm saying? So there it is. There's a nice knot there, and it's tight. Coming onto the main lure now. There you go. You've always got a nice little O-ring on a crankbait, a decent crankbait. As I said, I'm going to get some cool stuff. I'm going to test some cool stuff. And in the future, we're going to find some really good stuff that works. But if you get that little loop, you put your line through that loop, and this is similar knot to the joining knot, okay? You take the 2 pieces of line, you then twist it 7 times, same knot. This is not the only knot on the planet, but it's something to get started with, okay? And then you do that, then you go through your loop in the beginning, okay, which can be quite tricky, so you got to really work it. And this time you're going to lock it back up. So there it is through that loop. Just make sure it's good. There you go. Then once it's through that loop at the bottom, I then come back through the main loop again, and I create a beautiful lasso slip knot like that. Now that's going to move up the line a little bit, right, as you pull it. So wet it, always, and then just tie it slowly, work it on. You don't want to nick the line. Now I've got it onto there, and now the extra piece I just pull tight, and again, take your scissors and you just chop it off. You can leave a tiny little bit of extra in case there's some slippage in there. Fish don't always mind. Now if you're fishing for trout and things like that, that's different. But in the salt water you can do that. So there it is. I've got my main line, 8 pound, going on to 10 pound. Nice and strong on that knot. Okay, coming down, decent length. Okay, and then I've got my crankbait at the bottom. Nicely done. And that little O-ring makes sure that the wobble is good. So we're going to start with this. Let's see how it goes. Come on, let's enjoy some good fishing and have some fun. Yeah, man.